Hello, my soccer universe. My name is Roland. This is Football Talk. We know the field for the upcoming World Cup. The last 6 spots have been given out, and it's with no pleasure at all on my side to say Italy miss out for a 3rd time in a row. They might have been giants once, now they're minnows. And I will try to hold back on all my thoughts on what is wrong with Italian football, but this is utter humiliation. I think I cannot say it much clearer than that. And I think what's even worse is that it was deserved. It was deserved on the night. Yes, we can talk about the qualification system and all that kind of stuff. I think it's not ideal, and Italy fell a little bit again on the bad side of things. But this one felt not as bad as, for instance, in 2017, when you had an inept coach. You still had a decent squad that did well at the Euros. However, Conte left, and you were in a group with Spain. Spain were too good, and then you had to play a playoff against Sweden, and Sweden outfought you in that way. The one for the 22 World Cup, that's the one that really has to hurt. Big time, because not only did you lose to North Macedonia in the semi-final at home of the playoffs, but that's the one that you had in the bag if you convert only 2 or 1 of 2 penalties against Switzerland. Jorginho missing both of them. And that turned the tide. This is where that, because that Italy team had actually something going for them. They just won the Euros. They were on a high. They were probably the better team in both games against Switzerland. Especially in the first one. The second one, there was already some nerves in there. But that was the one. Did not happen there. This was, I would say, this was more of an accident than in 2017. The bad thing is that this elimination felt almost inevitable. You knew that they're gonna crumble. Even though they were a better team, you knew that they were gonna crumble. And we'll talk about that game, but as the game unfolded, yes, they had the lead, but I knew the only way that they're gonna qualify is if they hold on to a lead that became super tenuous, because Bosnia were outplaying them. And then in the penalty shootout, if you cannot hit the target, which is the minimum requirement, goalie can save it. If you cannot hit the target, you don't deserve to be at the World Cup. As much as this hurts me, and I'm a huge fan of the Azzurri. I have been for my whole life. But what has been served up over the past few years, if not want to say the past 2 decades, that's not Italy. That's not Italy. And it's not the coach Gattuso. However inept he might have been, I mean the tactic to just hold on, and however inept that might have been, he is the smaller of a huge problem. He's a small chunk of it. Yes, you could have gotten a better coach in there, but you had a great coach in Spalletti who could not deal with a national team, so I understand why they went then with Gattuso, but it did not work out either. So Bosnia through. We have 3 more from Europe that we'll talk about. Actually, those were really interesting games. We had 2 penalty shootouts again, and this time the one finished before the Italy started, or they were the last penalties were concurrently. We had another big nation missing out, throwing away qualification, even more so than the Italians, because let's face it, as soon as Italy lost their first qualifier against Norway, they knew that they will go into this playoff. That was clear. But there's one other team that should have by all right qualified, and they threw it away. And we have some qualification streaks ended for a long, long time, not only in Europe, but also in the Interconfederation playoff. And we'll address these as well. Saw the highlights now of everything. I also will talk a little bit about some of the learnings from friendlies. You don't learn enough from friendlies, to be honest, I have to be. But sometimes you see interesting things, and you can say certain things that maybe will lead you towards the World Cup. And speaking of the World Cup, It might not be a full-blown prediction with probabilities, but I have my first prediction out for this World Cup. Now that we know the field, I can at least tell you what is expected based on current ratings, who will be, if it's a semi-final and a final, who win it all, and so on. So that is at the end of this episode. But let's start with the European playoff and the other playoff, and we'll start, of course, on this night in Zenica. Let me be absolutely clear. I wanted Italy to win this one. However, I'm not unhappy that Bosnia made it to the World Cup. They were so close to qualifying when they played Austria in the last game in Vienna, when Austria equalized with a very dirty goal by Gregoric. Bosnia actually could have done that one right there and then. So in that sense, Bosnia did deserve it. Also, the way they fought back against Wales, which was a lucky win on penalties, but they really fought back in a way that I don't think Italy would have done against Wales. Also have to say that. And they were a better team against Italy. And Zenica, even though there were some stands close, Zenica was rocking. It's a small stadium, but very tight together. There was atmosphere there. It was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. I think the only thing amazing about Italy, I can find two amazing things about Italy. The first one was, of course, the kit. And the second one is the finish of Moise Kean to give Italy the lead in the 15th minute after Barella intercepts a very bad playout from Vasil. And Moise Kean puts it into the net. And I was actually quite optimistic then. I knew that Italy have overall the better players. However, already at that time, Bosnia were outplaying them. And Italy were holding back. And then the fatal mistake in my understanding. You just try to defend. And I told my wife early in the second half already, the Italy that I grew up with, they would have brought this home. A 31-0 win, you qualify for the World Cup, done and dusted. This used to be Italy. But this Italy side, I had major doubts that they will get this over the line. And of course they didn't do it. And it got even worse when Bastoni, clears out the attacker. I actually think he probably potentially could have avoided the red card if he doesn't put the leg up. But honestly, no. Absolutely. An asinine tackle. Even if you give up the goal right there, and yes, this would have given momentum to Bosnia, but you stay 11v11, and Bastoni is the best defender for Italy. That he does such a stupid mistake, and yes, there was a bad kick out from Donnarumma, so he's not the only one. But in the end, you have to make a smarter decision. You had your team play for over 80 minutes with a man less. In a crucial World Cup qualifier, you cannot take a red card here. And it has been a long time that Italy got a red card. I think it was Chiellini 10 years ago in a World Cup qualifier. So, it's all so stupid. Stupid stuff. At that point, it was absolutely clear to me, if Bosnia score, Italy will have to make it to the penalty shootout. Even then, the pressure will be so much on them. They feel the pressure. This Italy shirt, even though it's beautiful, and that was the second positive thing I wanted to say. I think the Italy home shirt is beautiful. I didn't like maybe the entire combination, but the home shirt is actually quite nice. So, this Italy shirt weighs heavy. Meanwhile, there is expectation, and there is an expectation of failure. And these players, Italy used to be mentality monsters. Do you see this in this squad? Absolutely not. And it needed some good saves by Donnarumma, especially in the second half when Alajbegovic had a great shot. And then in the end, it's in the 79th minute that Bakovic gets the ball over the line. Bosnia probably should have gotten a penalty, but Italy saved themselves into overtime. Where, yes, Muharemovic probably should have also gotten a red card. That is probably something that could be discussed. That would have leveled things out. Would Italy have scored? Nah. I have to say though, Moise Kean missed a huge chance on a counter-attack around the 60th minute. If he makes that one, Italy go through. It's also Pio Esposito who came on for Moise Kean. Retegui had to come off once Bastoni was sent off. And then Gatti from Milan came on in defense. I think the defense worked overall. I mean, I don't want to say they didn't put effort in. They did. But they went in this absolutely, and I don't want to say innate Italianness anymore, because, Italy as of late has not been defending deep anymore, and defending deep is not a valid strategy anymore. Whenever you defend deep, there will always be the one chance where you just concede, especially when you're nervous and everything. And this is exactly how the equalizer by Tabakovic came. Again, the red card for Muharemovic, I'm a little bit all over the place here. I wanted to see it. It was only a yellow card. To me, yeah, I know that Palestra is not running straight on goal. The ball was a little bit too far away. Ball was also outside of the box, so the foul was outside of the box. Yeah, it's probably you can defend it, but I think it should have been a red card. Goes all the way to penalties. Again, I mean, Bosnia having the more of the game, and then in penalties, I mean, it's Esposito, young Esposito, takes the first penalty, skies it. You have to first ask, why is he taking the first penalty? And not, for instance, Tonali, who expertly converted his one. But still, and then they also missed the third one, and Bosnia, who started, convert all four, and yes, Donnarumma was on it on the last one. But you could see it in the faces. I mean, they were dejected, but on the other side, you could also see that they kind of saw it coming as well. Wild scenes in Zenica. I mean, Bosnia really worked hard to deserve this qualification. They were the better team. Edin Dzeko had a shoulder injury, 40 years old. He will go to another World Cup. And they go in a group where I think Switzerland now, they probably would have liked to see Italy a whole lot more than Bosnia-Herzegovina. I'm just saying that because, there is quite some connection between Switzerland and Bosnia as well. So I can definitely see that this is a game that probably Switzerland would have liked to play against Italy and not against Bosnia. Canada, I think, will probably be relieved that they don't have to open their World Cup in Toronto against Italy. And there are many Italian fans there. Although, speaking of Italian fans, let's say, yes, there's a big Italian community in North America, but let's also face it, Italian national team fans don't travel all that well. Let's go over to Path B. To overall, I mean, by name it's not an upset. But if you look at the story of qualifying, it's a major upset. Sweden beat Poland 3-2. They were not the better team on the night. It was a tight game. It was a very interesting game. There were great goal scores. Scored. I mean, Elanga's opener, very nicely assisted back heel, and then he kisses the lower side of the crossbar and goes in. But then a great save by the Swedish goalie. Also, Zalewski gets the equalizer, slight deflection, so the goalie didn't look good. But then again, it is Lagerbilke after a gifted free kick that heads it in to give Sweden the lead at halftime. However, Poland were, from what I could see, they had more control of the ball. They played overall better, created chances, and then get the equalizer through Swiderski in the 55th minute, at which point the game got a little bit slower. There was one where the ball went through and Poland could score, but in the end, it's a melee in front of the box, where Gyökeres, the ball falls in front of his feet, and you have not seen anything from Gyökeres during the entirety of that match. But he shows up when it counts, and in the 80th minute he sends Sweden to the World Cup. Sweden, who were really only there because they won their Nations League group in Group C, or League C better, ahead of Slovakia. They did not win a single game in qualifying. They finished dead last. They just took the lifeline out of the Nations League. And, some might say, okay, this is a little bit unfair, especially when we go to the Kosovo result, because they ended up losing twice against Kosovo and they still qualify. But then on the other side, you need to strike when opportunity smiles upon you. And it was smiling for Sweden because, yes, You were a bottom-seeded team. You got Ukraine away from home, but you did it so in Valencia, where there was a stadium full of Swedes, and then you had the other home game against a Polish side that I still think is probably a tad better than Sweden, but with home field advantage and everything going on, it was a little bit stacked in Sweden's favor. I think Poland eliminated Sweden in a playoff for the Euros as well. So, there was previous between those two. I have to give it to Sweden. They salvaged an absolutely horrid campaign. And Graham Potter, after being sacked by West Ham, going back to Sweden, he's now the hero there. And while Sweden might not do a whole lot, they are in a very interesting group with the Netherlands, Japan and Tunisia, where I have to say it might potentially be a step too far for them. We'll have to see. But there they are. Last time they were also not fancy, but this was a much stronger team, 94 in Sweden. Sweden, after missing out in Qatar, are back at the World Cup. And so we go to Pristina, to the little bit unexpected final between Kosovo and Turkey. Kosovo, the only home team that did not win yesterday. And yes, Turkey overall were better, but in even the first half, after they got rid of their nervousness, they had a big chance through Aslani, where the goalie just tapped it onto the crossbar, and that could have given Kosovo the lead. Turkey, though, as I said, did have a little bit more. Also, you felt the weight for Turkey, but at least it was not as much weight this time around as last time, because, they were at least playing away from home. There was a good Turkish section there. Turkey get the winning goal through Aktürkoğlu in the 53rd minute after Kökçü takes the shot, and he just gets his foot a little bit on there. There were calls for offside, and at first replay I thought also, this might be offside, but then I see in the back there's someone putting him onside, and therefore Turkey win it deservedly. So in the end they saw it out. It was a little bit dirty. There was pressure coming from Kosovo, and this is a big statement for Kosovo that they made it almost to the World Cup with a huge away win in Bratislava, and now actually putting Turkey also under pressure at times, but in the end Turkey see it through and end a wait since 2002. It's only the third time ever that Turkey qualify. And they go, of course, in the group with the US, which they have beaten, Australia and Paraguay. So this is also very even, very interesting group, I gotta say. Talent-wise, I think that Turkey are the best team in this group. It's just that the US have home field advantage. But we saw that this might not do much anymore. In any case, I think as a neutral, you wanted to have Turkey at that World Cup, simply because they have really great talents in their squad. They probably also deserved it. They were slightly better than Romania. They were slightly better than Kosovo. And they gave us a lot of fun also at the Euros, except in the round of 16 for me. But they were one of the better sides to watch at the Euros. And I think there's with Yildiz and Güler, there's just so much talent already in there that you will just go, yeah, that's a fun side to watch. And then we go to another really even matchup between the Czech Republic and Denmark. And because it was played in Prague, and curiously, Prague played against Ireland in the Slavia Stadium. Against Denmark, they went into the Sparta Stadium. That, I think, was very, very interesting. And they started out with a bang. Schulz taking a shot from outside of the box after corner kick. Beautiful goal, or in the 3rd minute, putting the Czechs on the way. Of course, Denmark had then more of the game, had more chances without really creating anything clear, until Andersen had it in the 72nd minute after a cross. That then sends the game to overtime. Denmark were definitely the better team in the regulation. However, in overtime, I felt that the Czechs again came out with a lot of momentum, and Krejci gave them the lead in the 100th minute, and they were so close. Only 20 minutes away from qualifying. However, after another dead ball situation, Hög, of course, from Bodø Glimt, had it in, and it's 2-2. Denmark take it all the way to penalties. And this was similar to the Bosnia-Italy shooter, but this was a very interesting one as well, because you could feel that usually when you have a penalty shootout, the home team has a whole lot more pressure on them. But you could argue that Denmark were the favorites here. Denmark was the team that had everything to lose. And it was Denmark who started, missed the first penalty. The Czechs convert everything, but except when they could have made it already 3-1 and put Denmark really under trouble. I think only Eriksen converted for Denmark. Kovac, I think, saves 2, and then 1 goes over the bar. So Denmark completely floundered in that one. And in the end, the Czechs go through for the first World Cup since 2006. And the Czechs are also a team that does not qualify all that often. So I personally was happy that the Czechs qualified just because of that. And, having been lately in Czech Republic, maybe a little bit more sympathy there. But I have to say, the way Denmark threw away qualification. You had to get just a win against Belarus. So that you would have forced Scotland to beat you, not only outright, but beat you with goal difference making up, which would have been an impossibility. So he gave Scotland a lifeline. You twice equalized against Scotland, a Scotland team that you couldn't already beat at home. And I'm not saying that, this was one of my favorite games, and I repeat myself like I did in the previous episode. I repeat myself. I was super happy that Scotland qualified. But Denmark is the better team. Even though ahead of qualification, I had a feeling that this Denmark side is not so convincing anymore. They got the easy win against North Macedonia and against the Czechs again. They could not get their horsepower onto the pitch. And in a way, they threw away this one too. Because you have to win this game already in regulation against a really hard-fighting Czech side. A Czech side that, by the way, Czechia has been rocked by a betting scandal. A Czech side that was not so... you saw that they're good players, but the national team was not performing well. But they also used the opportunity to have 2 games at home, 2 games in Prague. Huge advantage to end their World Cup curse. How they will do it at World Cup, that remains to be seen. But this is only the 3rd time in my lifetime as a soccer fan that I will see the Czechs at a World Cup. That's crazy when you see them regularly at the Euros. And even longer waits have been broken in the interconfederation playoff. The DRC beat Jamaica. They scored an early goal that was ruled out then. I think it was an offside. Jamaica had 2 good chances in the first half, but I think the DRC were overall the better team, and after corner kick, Twanzebe in overtime gets it over the line, and the DRC qualify for the first time as the Democratic Republic of the Congo, but for the first time since 1974 when they were known as Zaire. And if you know that story, this was a heavy one. They had a difficult group and so on. Just look it up. There was a free kick that went into the history books where a lot of chuckles from the European side came. But if you know the backstory behind that one, very, very ugly stuff. Yeah. So I hope this time it's not like that. I actually am happy that the DRC qualified because they really have deserved that one. If you beat Cameroon and Nigeria in the African playoffs and then go over Jamaica, it's a little bit a step down almost. You had to make it to the World Cup. And another long wait was broken by Iraq, the first qualification since 1986 in Mexico. And they beat Bolivia, although Bolivia had so many corner kicks. Corner kicks, but Iraq was just a more efficient team, with Al-Hamdani opening scoring in the 10th minute, Banagia getting the equalizer for Bolivia, who were pressing, but right after the half, Hussein reestablishes the lead for Iraq. And then Iraq, hold on. I saw the last 15 minutes of that match in the morning. Was not pretty watching, to be honest. But Iraq, hold on. And are also through to the World Cup. Another nation that I don't know how they exactly will make it to the World Cup with a lot of fraud relationships. But, there they are. I think they deserved qualifying as well because, they were a little bit hard done by in the Asian qualification themselves. So I was happy that they qualify. It's the 2 seeded teams in the Interconfederation playoff that do qualify. But I think overall the right teams went through. Even though I would have loved if Suriname would have made it. We also had tons of friendlies over the past few days. I did watch a few because I wanted to see the new jerseys. Austria beat Ghana 5-1, but most importantly, we have two new national team players with Vanna and Chukwuemeka who combined brilliantly in that Ghana game. First half was not so great, but second half, Austria really made fun. And yeah, Ghana were a little bit under pressure. Then they played against Germany, where they really held on, deserved their draw, but very late on, Undorf scores the winner. And for some reason, then Otto Adol got sacked because of two losses to Austria and Germany. Sometimes you really don't understand what's happening in Africa. Gotta be honest with that one. Germany themselves had a so-and-so break. I mean, they won 4-3 in Switzerland, where I think Switzerland twice had the lead. But Florian Wirtz was playing well. But it's not very convincing by Germany, I gotta say. It was a little... Nagelsmann was a whole lot happier after that second performance, where he felt they had a little bit more control. And you can see they have talented players overall, but it just doesn't gel right yet. But it doesn't need to. Where it already gels is definitely France and Spain. They underline that they have to be considered some of the favorites. I mean, the way France beat Brazil, even with a man less, they were the much better team. Brazil made it 2-1, and then with a B squad, they beat Colombia easily 3-1. Really, really impressive stuff. And Spain also won their friendlies against Serbia and Egypt relatively easy, playing in their beautiful new away jerseys. I have to say Spain look also really good without being too convincing. And I have to say what impressed me was how the Dutch fought back against Norway. They were 1-0 down, however they managed to turn that one around in the end, win. I don't want to say convincingly, but deservedly. Yes, against Ecuador, they had a player sent off, so it's only a 1-1. But those were kind of the games that I've been watching. I thought it was interesting, but France really impressed me. Spain beat opposition that they have to beat, but it's still impressive what Spain can do. But they played at home, France played away with an A and B squad, very, very deep. It's gonna be fun to see them at the World Cup for sure, especially in that group with Senegal. Senegal played a friendly against Peru in Paris, and what did they do? Paraded the AFCON trophy around. Super trolling. Super trolling. They just behaved like they're African champions, which, let's be fair, they are. And now let's finish up this episode with my first proper World Cup prediction based on the ratings. It's the FIFA rating, it's the ELO rating, all of them. I've updated the ELO rating as of the 1st of April. The FIFA rating will be updated later, so this is still the one ahead of the international break. Betting odds are not yet considered. This will come in my then first really pre-tournament prediction. But this is how I see the groups going as per these ratings. Group A, Mexico ahead of South Korea, ahead of Czechia. South Africa will be eliminated. Czechia will make it through as a third place team. Group B, Switzerland ahead of Canada and ahead of Bosnia. Qatar out, also not too unexpected. Group C, Brazil ahead of Morocco. And then Scotland will make it out of the group for the first time ever, because Haiti, they will probably win that one, so they have a good chance of surviving that group. Group D, super even group now with Turkey in there. The US just ahead of Turkey, although personally I don't quite believe it. This is home field advantage. That's talking here. Turkey is the better team. But, the US did not have a great international break so far. I have not seen the result against Portugal, but what they showed against Belgium, horrible jersey matchup as well, did not put a lot of confidence in there. But, maybe at the World Cup they will grow and could finish the group ahead of Turkey. So let's keep it that way. Australia will be the odd man out. Then Group E, Germany ahead of Ecuador and the Ivory Coast. Curacao out, not too unexpected. Then Group F is the first one. We have only two qualifiers. The Netherlands and Japan, Sweden and Tunisia will be eliminated from that group. Group G, a very dicey one, and we, as of now, still don't know anything about Iran. I'm assuming Iran will be at that World Cup one way or another. Belgium, Iran, Egypt. Iran will finish second. Have that in mind and see who they will be playing in the next round. Egypt will also make it through. New Zealand will go out. Then we have Spain and Uruguay. Coming out of that group, Saudi Arabia and Cape Verde are just underdogs in there. So Spain and Uruguay will go through. Then the group of death where Iraq has not joined, France, Norway and Senegal. I'm really looking forward to the matches of these groups, which probably most of them we won't be able to watch. Iraq will be out. Senegal will make it through as one of the best third place teams. Then Argentina ahead of Austria, Algeria and Jordan. I hope at least that this is the case. I think Austria can hurt Argentina, but the other two can hurt Austria. I am very well aware of that. But by rating, Austria will finish in second place, which is not very advantageous, to be honest. But it doesn't really matter where you end up in this group, because you will meet an opponent that is definitely better than you, regardless. Portugal ahead of Colombia, the DRC and Uzbekistan will be eliminated, and the same thing goes for Group L, where England and Croatia go through, Panama and Ghana are eliminated. So that would be the group stage, and I think many good stories would be there already, but then we have to all put it together as a bracket, which I've done here. And you see already the full path, but let's walk it through bit by bit. Let's start with the top left quadrant. Germany will most likely beat Scotland, France against Paraguay. Then Germany, France would face each other, where France are the favorites. South Korea is a better team than Canada, even if there would be some sort of home field advantage, but I'm not sure if B2 will actually play in Canada. And the Netherlands against Morocco is probably one of the better matchups, where I actually can see upset potential there. Really big upset potential. But whoever wins that one will be favored over South Korea. In my case, it's the Netherlands, who then would meet France and make it to the semifinals. France would be in the semifinal. Of course, as one of the top favorites. Then we go to a lower left. Colombia against Croatia. Colombia should be the favorites, even at home. And yes, Croatia is a side that should not be discounted. And Spain against Austria is probably the worst possible matchup, because that's a matchup that Spain will win anytime. Even though Austria can hurt big teams, I still think Spain will go easily through there. They would meet Colombia in a very juicy matchup, but you would think that Spain will make it through to the quarters there. And then the lower left, the United States would play Bosnia. Interesting. Where I think you would favor the US to go through. And then Belgium against Czechia. Yes, Belgium is the better team. USA, Belgium, we just had that one. Belgium will go through, and hopefully this time will be a better jersey matchup. And it will be Spain against Belgium. And to be honest, I don't see Belgium threatening Spain one bit. So we have one semifinal, France against Spain again. But that's an interesting one. Let's go to the other side. Brazil against Japan. Interesting one, but even with all their troubles, I don't see Brazil being ousted by Japan, and Norway should go past Ecuador. So Brazil would meet Norway. Brazil will make it through to the quarters. Then Mexico-Scotland with home field advantage. Mexico will win the first knockout game for Scotland in World Cup history. And England will have a tough time against Algeria, but England will make it through. Mexico against England, very interesting. England is the better team. Will meet Brazil, where they are favored, and actually are through to the semifinal, according to my model. Do we believe it? Maybe, maybe not. England were not that good now in this international break, but I think you cannot really say a whole lot here. Then the other really huge clash in the round of 32, Argentina against Uruguay. That's a derby. And I can see Uruguay hurting Argentina, but overall Argentina is the better team. Go through, and then Turkey against Iran. And remember, Turkey were second in the USA group. If the US finish second, not inconceivable, they could meet Iran in Dallas. That game is so crazy stuff. Argentina against Turkey would be interesting, but I think Argentina are just a better team, so they're through to the quarterfinal. And then lower left, Switzerland over Egypt would be expected. Portugal over Senegal. That might be a tight one, and I could see Senegal do an upset there. If Senegal make it through there, I think Senegal make a deep run in this tournament. But as I have it, it's Switzerland against Portugal, where you would favor Portugal, and then we get Argentina against Portugal. I think all the world is waiting for that Messi v Ronaldo, the last one. Matchup. Argentina is normally better than Portugal, although this Portugal team is probably overlooked, especially if Ronaldo would not be playing. And so we would have France against Spain, England against Argentina, very juicy semi-final. We will have Spain against Argentina in the final, and Spain are the favorites to win it. That's at least my prediction. Sure to go wrong. And I'm curious to see how this will pan out during the tournament. So, that ends this lengthy episode. Still reeling from it. A, what did you think about Italy not qualifying and all the other qualifying matches? B, who do you think performed well in the friendlies? And C, how much do you agree with my prediction for the World Cup? Any case, give me a thumbs up or a subscription if you enjoyed this episode. Tell somebody else that Football Talk exists, and I'm surely will talk to you soon about more things in my soccer universe. Bye!